The school-to-prison pipeline is a phenomenon that no one likes to admit exists.
It's hard to get your arms around this because there are so many dynamics associated with children from low socioeconomic status and poverty. Students start exhibiting behavior that puts them behind their peers. Once a child has been arrested as an adolescent or as a preteen, then you pretty much can almost guarantee that they're headed to prison.
School systems around the nation developed a policy called zero tolerance, which means that there was no tolerance for any kind of misbehavior. So we're talking about fighting, public disruption, interfering with the operation of a school. Misdemeanors that have led to a disproportionate number of students being sent to juvenile court.
Think about it. If a child is not in school, what is that child doing? Many of them belong to single-parent homes. Some of those parents are working 2 part-time jobs. They can't afford to be home with that child during the day. They can barely afford to make it to a parent-teacher conference.
That's what suspension is. You do something wrong and then you're punished for it. We want to take what you do right and we want to encourage you to continue to do that.
Georgia Appleseed operates under a theory of change. We create a roadmap. The roadmap leads us from point A to B to C. We realize that so many of the kids that we see in juvenile court come to us through school. One of the things that we learned was almost 70% of out-of-school suspensions were for minor misbehaviors. And we thought that was a place that we could start to make a difference. We needed to have ready-to-access, easy-to-understand data.
What Georgia Appleseed has done, in conjunction with our partnership with the Department of Education, is we've taken out-of-school suspension data and we've put it in a usable format on our Parent Toolkit website so that the community can see the out-of-school suspension rates for schools throughout Georgia.
The charts allow them to see by school what the suspension rates are and how they compare to other schools like their school as well as to the state.
We take solutions, best practices, the data that we've researched, and we work with community action groups to bring that to reality. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Now, community action groups are amazing folks that take their personal time out to come to meetings, to walk the neighborhoods with me, to talk to these parents, to let them know that we are a resource. Once we get through the door, that information becomes so valuable to the people that really need it.
At some point, we have to be able to work with the schools to replace the past practices of sending minor behavior cases to juvenile court with something more positive, something that is research-based, something that works. Positive behavioral interventions and supports.
Positive behavior intervention supports is a strategy. It's a strategy for the larger issue of improving school climate that involves everyone in the building in problem solving.
What it encompasses is instead of looking at suspending children, you are trying to flood the school with positive behavior intervention strategies. We want those students to realize and understand that they are capable of assuming leadership roles. If you're able to impact how students think, then students will go home and the parents will start having powerful conversations with their children about the school that their child attends, regardless of what side of town it's on.
The important thing is to look at each child individually. What might be a growth area for one child might not necessarily be what the other child needs. The research will help us look at some of those confounding variables that we don't see on the surface, but would definitely have to be a consideration in order to have the program work as a whole. Every little thing counts.
Schools have found that even if they want to do PBIS in their local communities, they might not have the extra resources to be able to do so. And so Georgia Appleseed has been going to funders to make the case, to say we need to get out of the silos, we need to collaborate.
Georgia Appleseed is putting it into action. What I'm looking for is a transformation in how we educate children. If you capture their attention, you can capture their heart. And we're trying to capture their heart.
2 years ago, at the 2012 Good Apple Awards, I shared a dream that I had. We had data from 9 years of every single child's out-of-school suspension rate. But we were the only ones who had access to that data. 2 people came up to me. One was Viral Dave and the other was Josh Williams. And they both said to me, Sharon, we can help you with that. We can help you take that data and put it in an easily accessible, easy to understand web page. It was long, it was hard, but they kept at it. And now we have the Keeping Kids in Class Toolkit. It's just been an incredible gift to Georgia Appleseed, but more importantly, it's been an incredible gift to Georgia. Part of Georgia Appleseed's method of doing its work is to disseminate what it learns. And it's that middle part, the dissemination part, where the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Georgia District Association stepped up and absolutely answered the call. We needed that local community leader. Alpha Phi Alphas said, let us fill that role, let us be that convener. It was a wonderful collaboration. Without the Alphas, I don't know that we would have had the kind of opportunities to speak directly with parents and stakeholders that they afforded Georgia Appleseed. It became very important to the Georgia Appleseed Board of Directors that Georgia Appleseed have a presence, be part of a community in which it seeks to work. The decision was made that we would seek to open our first office outside of Atlanta in Columbus, Georgia. The Pope McGlamry firm stepped up and said, we are so committed to this vision, we want you to come and be in donated space in our own law firm in Columbus to make this strategic vision come to reality.
Every road led to Pope McGlamry. They truly opened the door and made it possible for Georgia Appleseed to spread our wings and fly all over the Columbus. Pope McGlamry has been the godfather of the Columbus office. They've been that person that I could trust, that entity that I knew was home as a stranger. What they do is embedded deep in their hearts, and they believe in what they do, and it's extremely genuine.
We call it the Contagion Theory. It becomes contagious. You know, the one child sees that, that looks like that feels good, and I want it too.
We're talking about doing this statewide and really changing the entire dynamic by approaching public education in a totally different way.
What I hope happens here is that our children get to live out the American dream without implication, without heartache. And I see it almost every day when I'm working on projects, when I'm walking through the schools, as I'm working in the neighborhoods, to see a child's eyes just light up with the possibility of knowing that they too can go to school to be an attorney. They can do whatever they want to do.
Georgia Appleseed is putting it into action. I've been in education 17 years. This is the first time that I have been engaged. They asked me, what can we do for you?
The school-to-prison pipeline has caused a lot of harm to our community. I hope one day we are able to look back and say, this is when and this is where the tide of education turned.
Georgia Appleseed is very happy to be able to work together with the local school system and with the local community to make this dream come true.